Yo, so today I'm going to be breaking down this loop that I made kind of in the style of Rod Wave or Roddy Ricch. So I know I did a video very similar to this, I think a week ago, but some of the things I did in this kind of ties into like how to create better melodies, that video I did on Friday. So I thought it would be good to like show more of an example. So to start off with, I made this chord progression from the cinematic keyscape preset, and this kind of ties in with the thing I was saying, that if you use that chord progression like the dun dun dun, then you really have to spice it up for it to like sound more unique. So that's kind of what I did here. So instead of having the bass notes go here, here, and then here for the last one, I spaced it out, switched around the timing a little bit, and I used quite like a different chord than like a normal triad. So I believe what I started with doing a seventh chord. So that would be like the top note of the triad. So I went one above that. And then I basically just made seventh chords for everything except this second chord here. I didn't like the way seventh chord sounded on it. So I pretty much just played this out like all condensed together and then went back in and changed the voicing on it just to kind of switch it up. And then I did this little roll here at the end to kind of transition it into the next section of the melody. And then for this chord, it's different than this one. And what I did is put it down 5, because if you go up or down 5 in a minor scale, it stays in the scale, so that'll sound good. Another thing that I did to make this a very full sounding chord pattern is, you can see I'm in the key of A minor, so it's a little bit of like a higher pitch key. So I actually duplicated the bass notes down twice. So here's what this melody sounds like. And then actually for this last chord here, I inverted that E just to change it up a little bit, because I felt like this was going more up, so I wanted to continue that kind of movement. The next thing I did is I copied that chord progression over to a Rhodes piano. I believe it's the Lush Rhodes in Atmosphere. And I took out both of the bass notes, and I took out that little roll that's right there. And I just recorded it out, left it dry, didn't really add anything to it. Well, I did, but that's like in the mixing part. But then I took the last chord and I reversed it, and I also cut that chord off early so you could really hear the reverse. And I've been adding this a lot to my piano melodies, and it really makes it sound so much cooler. Like, it makes that first chord hit so much harder, and it sounds a lot more dramatic, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it, but here that is. So that reverse really doesn't sound the best because it kind of like clips, I guess, at the end. It kind of like has a little ticking noise. But when you combine it with the normal piano, it sounds really nice. It just kind of like emphasizes that first chord. That's like the only way I know how to explain it. The next thing I added is this piano. I believe it's either the classical or the softest piano from Keyscape, and I just played this out on the MIDI. It took me a little bit to get this pattern down, but I, again, just like the last video, used this note that doesn't really make sense in the scale because it's not in the scale, but it gives it a really jazzy feeling and really spices up the melody. So I just basically fiddled around till I got something I liked and didn't mess with the velocities at all, just like turned them down by doing Control A, holding Alt, and scrolling. But here's how this pattern turned out. So that sounds really cool. But then I added two more sounds. This one, very underrated plugin. I think this is the best budget plugin there is. I think I got it for $12 and it's a really good plugin for that cheap. And I just used the hard tenor sax preset and again just kind of fiddled around on the MIDI until I found something I liked and came up with this. And this like is pretty quiet and laid back in the whole melody, but it does add a nice feeling. Like, of course, it doesn't sound as good as like Contact, like that Essential Orchestra Bank or whatever it's called, but it still does sound really good for a $12 plugin. So definitely go check if Expand is on sale and grab it if you don't have it already. Next thing I added is a boo bass. Again, really underrated plugin. It's stock and it's a great acoustic bass. And I just kind of clicked in a bass line. That's pretty much it. Made sure it sounded real cute. But yeah, here it is. And when I make these bass lines, I do like to leave some of the notes not touching each other. Like here, you can see it here, here, here. But it just kind of gives like you're plucking some and then you're letting some play. So I think it gives it just a little bit of a cooler feeling. All right, so now we're going to get into the mixing, which I think is what really ties it in to the other video I did, because I used these and did the mono and super stereo Rhodes piano that I explained in that video, but now you can actually see it. But on that main piano, I just cut the lows and added an imager, but I didn't turn it all the way up because I knew I wanted the Rhodes to be like absolutely to both sides, just very much stereo. And then for the first Rhodes, the non-reversed one, I just kind of isolated it here and then didn't put any imagers or anything on it. I actually made it more mono by turning up this little knob to the right and turned it about 44%, it says there. But it just keeps it more in the middle. And then with this one, I separated it 100%. And I also let all of the highs come through. And those two really combine, so it's, I don't know, it's just a cool thing to do. Next, for that high-pitched piano, I cut here because there's some weird frequencies, and I boosted the highs just a touch. And then for the saxophone, I kind of just left it here, just cut out everything that wasn't necessary, and then put the default chorus preset on it and turned it about halfway down, a little bit more. But I like to do that when I'm making these kind of melodies, like the more upbeat piano melodies, because I want to make them feel more like a real sample, and I feel like chorus is a good way to do that. I'm not sure if it actually is, but it gives it the feeling I'm looking for. Next, on the boo bass, I just kind of took out the highs. It's a bass. For the arrangement, I pretty much just have everything coming gradually in and out. But yeah, then I went into the mixer, hit the little red button, did Alt-R to record, and I recorded it out and pitched it down 1. So now it's in G sharp minor. And then I added this crinkle effect that I made, which will be in that mysterious kit that has no name. But you can remake this exact same thing that if like you get a package, just like take the bubble wrap or packing peanuts, get your mic and just crumple them in your hand and then throw an EQ on it. And it sounds really good. And then also I routed the final loop to the mixer, put an EQ on it, slightly boosted the low mids, and then slightly took out of the highs. And then I added this isotope vinyl. When I use isotope vinyl, I never like to go below 1970 because I feel like the bass gets completely cut out. And if I put a bass in it, then there's no point to add that. So I just keep it at 1970. And then I really never put the warp depth up above like 30%. Then I think it gets like too overwhelming and it's more like distracting than adding something to the melody. So yeah, that's gonna be pretty much it for the video. I hope that you got to like see what I meant by the things I said. Wow, I said that completely backwards, but so I hope you got to see what I was talking about in the last video about the panning and like making that chord progression unique. So yeah, thanks for watching. That's pretty much it. I'll play the final loop right now.